The ascent of one Sumit Nagal continues on and continues on very, very well. Remember, before this year, in fact, towards the end of last year, oops, that's a bit of a problem, but we'll power through it regardless. Before the end of this particular year, towards the end of 2023, you had an instance whereby, Sumit Nagal had given an interview where he said that, look, things are not really going very, very well in that regard. And unfortunately, his finances were not in good condition. And he himself said that come what may, he wasn't in a good condition. Finances were not looking very good. He said that, he was struggling to make ends meet, didn't have much money left, and was not getting the support necessary from the system, the ecosystem that was in place. Well, he has bounced back from there ever since, and then to make things even better, he ended up having an upset run for the ages in the Australian Open, wherein he played three back-to-back qualifier matches, made it through, and then, he ended up beating the 31st seed. That was a pretty massive accomplishment, and now to show that he's not a one-hit wonder, that he's not someone who is merely just going to be coasting on that one particular appearance. And as you can see, the lights just came back. So thank you guys for bearing with us till that point in time. But Sumit Nagal shows that he's not just a one-hit wonder, not just someone who's going to be coasting off one or two good appearances in a Grand Slam. Decides that no, with the French Open being the next, let's say, Grand Slam coming, the goal was always going to be to make it into the top 100 of the rankings. Why is the top 100 important? It's more than just a number. Being in the top 100, or more specifically the top 104, gives you a guaranteed qualification for the Grand Slams. You don't need to play qualifiers. If you are ranked in the top 104 of the world, you can sign up for the Grand Slam and you're into the main qualifying draw automatically. Top 100 is also important because if you are ranked within the top 100, you then get to play the Olympics as well. So before we delve into why it is that this particular, let's say, win is such a big one for Sumit Nagal, let's go over the qualification or the processes that he's had to go through until how we got here. He did well in the Australian Open, got a few ranking points. His ranking boosted up slightly, but after that, the focus was always going to be, right, how is it that we can make this ranking better? Because in tennis, the ranking is really everything and it's linked directly to your performances. However many tournaments you win and the higher prestige, the more rankings you get. Nagal did what a lot of people in his position would and chose to play those tournaments which would get him a good chance of wins. And again, he's playing the challengers, which are a rung below the ATP tours of 250, 500 and 1000. Those are, of course, a lot tougher to crack because the top players will play in those, given that the rankings points at stake are much, much higher. So he's playing the challengers. The first of those was, of course, in Chennai, the one that he's just won by defeating Italian Luca Nardi. Now, of course, in the challengers, you'll get more often than not two types of players. You'll either get veterans who are trying to get easy ranking points because challengers will not give you the same level of competition as ATP 250s, 500s or 1000s, or you'll get young players who are trying to climb up the rankings quickly. Luca Nardi falls in the latter. He's a 20-year-old from Italy, is seen as someone with a promising future, but the fact that Nagal could get past him relatively easily in straight sets shows that Nagal is not a one-trick pony and someone who's finally finding some very good rhythm in his tennis game. He had a pretty good run throughout this tournament, won matches with ease, and even though this was a match where, of course, there was expected to be most pressure, it's the final, and Luca Nardi is, of course, the top seed in this particular event, whereas Nagal was the second highest seed. Nagal still ended up defeating him relatively easily, although there was a bit of a, let's say, hiccup in the second set. He was 5-4 serving for the championship, but down 40-15 on his own serve. Nagal from there then ended up winning 3 straight points, got it to deuce, got to the advantage, and then thereafter ended up sealing it. So not 3, 4 straight points, seals the championship in style, and more importantly, what he's done is gotten himself enough points. The 100 points that he gets from winning this tournament will ensure that come tomorrow, Monday morning, when the rankings are refreshed, Sumit Nagal will sit within the top 100. In fact, to be more specific, he'll sit on 98. 98 is where he will sit. The key, of course, will be to stay there before the French Open, because if he's there, it means he automatically qualifies for the main draw of the French Open. And of course, French Open is meant to be one of those places where you'd expect him to do well, because Nagal, by his own admission, favors clay over other surfaces. So before we, of course, talk about why this is so important in the long long run. Let's quickly delve into what are the major accomplishments he's had here. First off, Sumit Nagal is only the 10th Indian ever to have made it to the top 100 of the ATP rankings. Only the 10th ever male Indian player to make it into the top 100. This is, of course, his fifth ATP Challenger title and the second that he's won at home. So, ATP Challengers, again, the thing is that the ranking points available are a little less. So, you do tend to, of course, it's a bit of a gamble you're taking because if you go on to win, you still get a half decent amount of ranking points. If you don't, then, of course, you will potentially be at risk of others outstripping you. He beat Luca Nardi, of course, 6-1, 6-4. Pretty easy win, all things said and done, and come tomorrow will be 98 in the rankings. Of course, this is not going to be the last tournament he plays before the French Open. Again, with clay court season coming, you will be seeing him participate in more tournaments. In fact, he's going to be playing a lot of tournaments in India itself. After this, he'll be playing the Bangalore Challenger event. He will be playing the Challenger event in Pune, and he will, of course, be playing the Challenger event that is going to be taking place in New Delhi. So, plenty of, let's say, events coming Sumit's way, and he's going to be certainly keeping pretty busy. But again, the key would be to get big wins in those particular tournaments, because again, if he can get the wins, if he can keep adding to his Challenger resume, then and only then will he have a chance of ensuring that his ranking gets higher, gets better. That's definitely going to be the main factor. Now, why it's important is because, again, when you're looking at, let's say, tennis, it's always singles tennis that will get most of the attention. That's no disrespect to anyone who's a fan of doubles or a fan of Rohan Bopanna. But the fact of the matter is that singles tennis is where the attention is at. It's where the money is at. It is going to always be the format that gets you the most attention. India, for the longest of times, haven't had enough players reach this level consistently. In fact, if you go over the last decade or so, only 3 Indian players, including Sumit Nagal, have actually ranked within the top 100. You've had Nagal. Before this, you had a Prajnesh Gunneswaran. And before that, you had Somdev Devarman. That's it. It's been a very barren run in recent times when it comes to Indian tennis. So it's nice to see one player who's finally bucking the trend and looking to make it big in singles. You'd hope, of course, that he can continue on with that form because, as I said, there's plenty of tournaments still that he'll be playing in. And aside from, of course, just the challenges, he will also be looking to play other events. He will be taking part in the qualifying rounds of the Indian Wells Masters as well as the Miami Masters. Both are ATP 1000 events. So again, the ranking points on offer there, very, very good. He will, of course, also be taking part in the ATP 500 event that is scheduled to take place in Dubai. So that is, as I said, plenty of tournaments for Sumit to keep himself busy and plenty of tournaments for him to play where he can be not only potentially getting big wins and advancing his ranking points, but also playing against top level players that will help him sharpen his tools and get better as he goes along. So that is the news, and it's pretty big. Again, most people were hoping that come the Australian Open that he'd not actually fizzle or not become one of those Indian players who will end up falling back on doubles as a safety net. So far, no indications of the sort. Sumit is still pursuing singles and pursuing it very strongly. The Chennai Challenger might not be one of the bigger title wins of his career. They may be bigger still, but it's a start towards him establishing himself consistently in that top 100 and ensuring that he can qualify for Grand Slams, qualify for ATP 250s and 500s, and also potentially the thousands if his ranking keeps going up, and ensure that quietly and consistently increase the presence of Indians in the tennis circuit, because again, you need players playing singles. That's the only way you'll keep going forward. So that's the breaking news update. We did more than just a breaking news, discussed a lot of things. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, you can show us your love by liking this video, sharing it with your friends, subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Tap that bell as well. Also leave us a comment. How impressed or happy are you with this particular accomplishment? Let us know. Also go ahead, follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTalk mobile app, and last but not least, don't forget to stay tuned. We have plenty more other videos coming your way. For now, from my side though,